Gabay Batas, hosted by Atty. Juanito Antonio and Divine Gyosa.
Gandang hapon.
Hello, good afternoon, attorney.
Magandang hapon.
Good afternoon, Divine, and our new co-host, si Atty. Feliciano Macaraeg III, alias Atty. J.
Magandang hapon.
Attorney, nandiyan ka na naman sa malayo, ha? Madaya ka talaga.
Yeah, alam mo, tawag ng, it is a professional call kaya much as I would like to be with you always, kung minsan kailangan talaga magampanan din natin yung ating, the other dimension of
Yes.
being a lawyer. So, my apologies for not being with you every Friday. But nonetheless, I always strive to be close to you and especially to our avid listeners who are constantly giving their support to our program, Divine. How are you?
Eto, attorney. Ganda pa rin.
Yeah,
Tama ba?
you look impeccably sweet.
Oh, wow, thank you.
Nakilala mo na ba yung ating bagong co-host, si Atty. Macaraeg?
Hindi pa nga eh. Ngayon ko lang siya nakita, attorney. Pakilala mo nga ako sa kanya.
Mga giliw namin, mga taga-subaybay, itong programa namin na Gabay Batas. It is my distinct pleasure and privilege to introduce to you our co-host. Batang-batang abogado ito pero hindi bata ang kanyang kakayanan. He is already a battle-tested litigator. He is Atty. Feliciano Macaraeg III. You can just call him sweetheart. Sweetheart. You can just call him JJ, Atty. JJ. I will ask him to introduce himself. Suffice it to say that he is a private practitioner like me, and he is, despite his boyish looks, he is a seasoned veteran already, and you cannot just take him for granted because he has a gigantic legal mind. JJ, can you please introduce yourself?
Thank you sa magandang introduction, Atty. Antonio. Magandang hapon ho sa mga nakikinig at sa mga nanonood dito sa programang ito. At kung yun nga, si Atty. Feliciano Macaraeg III. Ang palayo ko ay JJ. Yun na lang ang itawag niya na lang sa akin. Anyways, it's good to be here. At,
Yan, welcome, attorney.
Thank you. At ngayon pa lang natutuwa na akong warmang welcome niyo sa akin. Yes.
Buti nga, andito ka ngayon at mahirap mag-isa, malungkot. Ito si attorney, namasyal na naman. Lagi na mamasyal. Attorney, kailangan ang pasalubong namin, huwag mo kakalimutan, ha? Panay pasyal-pasyal ka lagi.
Pero ako naman naiintindihan ko naman kasi yung ganyang buhay na private litigator katulad namin talaga minsan sa ibang probinsya, palipat-lipat kami. Depende kung saan ang trabaho, doon kami pupunta. Kaya ngayon, nasa remote area ngayon si Atty. Antonio at yun nga.
Attorney Feliciano Macaraeg, at taga saan ba ang mga Macaraeg?
Ang mga Macaraeg sa Pangasinan, kasi ang lolo ko ay galing sa Malasiki, sa Pangasinan. Tapos dito na sila lumaki dito na sila nagtayo ng pamilya sa Maynila. Particularly sa Quezon City. At yun, yung tatay ko rin, doon ako nakapangalan sa Feliciano Jr. din. Kami rin, although ako naman pinanganak ako sa Pangasinan, dito na rin kami lumaki talaga.
Sa Manila.
Sa Manila. Sa Quezon City talaga. Sa tubong Quezon City talaga ako.
Ayan. So, Attorney J na lang para ang haba kasi ni Feliciano eh.
Napagkakamalin kasi minsan pag Feliciano matandang abogado pero pag nakikita nila nagugulat
sila kasi bagets na bagets ka
madalas
pa.
mangyari yun.
Attorney J,
matanda naman pala talaga.
School ka rin nag-graduate.
Ako naman gumraduate sa San Sebastian College, Recoleto sa Manila. Gumraduate ako doon tapos at that time nag-working student din ako, so up until gumraduate ako tapos nag-take na ako ng bar, pumasa na rin, and I've been a private practitioner, private litigator ever since. So it's been, I think, almost 4 years ako nagpa-practice sa private practice.
O di marami na rin experience si Attorney Attorney Antonio.
Yeah, and he is a very promising lawyer. He's always making promises.
Talaga? Puro pangako. Ang tanong, may single ba si Attorney J?
Ay, hindi.
Double siya, double na.
Si Attorney talaga.
Double na si Attorney J.
Ang comedy mo pa rin.
Ha?
Kahit sabi ko, malayo ka, comedy ka pa rin. Patawa ka pa rin ng patawa.
Well, kasal na ako. Live tayo eh.
May anak ka na,
Meron. Ito, gusto ko rin patiin.
Yan, greet mo yung family mo.
Hi kay Mami Pia at sa anak ko.
Hello
Kay
po, Ma'am Pia.
I think Attorney Tuazon is...
yung guest.
Nandiyan na ba?
Our guest, si Attorney Tuazon is already on board already. So, in a little while, we will be introducing him. After you have, are you done, JJ, in introducing yourself?
Okay na po. Okay na ako, Attorney Antonio.
I-greet na lang yung wife niya tsaka yung anak niya.
Okay na.
Yeah. At this point, dear listeners and viewers of our program, Gabay Batas, we would like to introduce to you our guest for today, none other than my own classmate at the UP College of Law, Attorney Florentino Tuazon Jr. He used to be an RTC judge in Makati, and he was once a commissioner of the Commission on Elections. Attorney Tuazon is one of our more illustrious members of our class at the UP College of Law, and needless to emphasize, he is equipped with all of the necessary instruments of a well-rounded lawyer. Magandang hapon sa iyo, Commissioner Boy Tuazon. Welcome to our program.
Magandang hapon po, Commissioner.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Boy, Attorney Boy.
Good afternoon. Do you hear me?
Yeah, you are coming in.
But is my video okay?
Yes.
All right.
Commissioner Boy, I would like to introduce to you our co-hosts, si Miss Divine Gyosa, and our new co-host and my associate in my law practice, Attorney JJ Macaraeg. We have just introduced him, and I have just done introducing to you as one of my more illustrious mortals in our UP College of Law class.
It is far from it.
And needless to say, he is adequately equipped with all the ingredients of a well-rounded lawyer. So, with your permission, we will welcome you, Boy, to our program, Gabay Batas, which seeks to enlighten our listeners from all facets of the legal profession, all kinds of problems. As much as we can, we try to solve or to give advice, to phone in questions, asking enlightenment about the so many intricacies of our profession. So, welcome to our program, Attorney Boy.
Thank you so much, Tito, for having me.
Divine, do you have any kind words for our guest for today? He is a former judge, RTC judge of Makati, and a commissioner of the Commission on Election. So you can shoot any question pertaining to election laws, election issues and concerns, and whatever, what have you. And as I've said,
I'll just try to answer if I can, and I will say I don't know if I don't know the answer. Is that okay?
Yes.
yes, yeah, and but I have no doubt that because I have, as I have introduced you, boy, you are one of the most illustrious members of our class.
That is far from it, Tito. I think you're more illustrious than anyone else.
That is even an understatement, boy. Having achieved
anyway, thank you, but far from it, Tito, as I've said. So.
Yeah. Divine, do you have any questions to
Yes,
our
good
guest?
afternoon, Attorney Tuazon.
Hi, good afternoon, Divine.
Yes po. Since sa darating po na election, matanong ko lang po, meron na po bang, napaghandaan na po ba ang mga protocols para po mapanatili pa rin ang ating social distancing? Kasi for sure, by that time, meron pa ring pandemic eh. Sa tingin ko lang
As of now, kasi ang susunod, the next election would be in May of 2022. First Monday of May in 2022, no?
Yes.
There are no implementing rules and regulations yet that has been promulgated or that have been promulgated by the COMELEC and bank, no? The rules will come from the COMELEC and bank maybe after the registration, which is in October. They are not saying that the pandemic will be over by that time. So I am sure that they will promulgate some rules to the effect that the minimum protocols to address the pandemic will be made. One of the things that they have considered, which was also considered during my time as Commissioner of COMELEC, was internet voting. But this internet voting will only be used for overseas voters, but not in local, but not in the elections in the Philippines. That means that I pioneered this during my time in Singapore, where internet counting was implemented before the elections. About 65% of the more than 1 million registered voters then, 65% voted through internet voting. The turnout was very well, but it was not adopted during my time because some had concerns on whether this internet voting might be used for political ends. At any rate, that is one of the ways contemplated by COMELEC insofar as voting overseas through internet voting. Now, in the Philippines, there are no, as of this time, rules and regulations yet promulgated by the NBank on how personal voting would be conducted. But I'm sure after the registration in October of this year, they will come up with the regulation that would meet at least the minimum protocol standards to address this pandemic.
Thank you, Attorney.
If I may add po, Attorney, total na pag-uusapan naman din po yung ganyang ito pong topic na to. Ano po ba yung sa opinion niyo yung ang maging impact nito dun sa face-to-face or yung tinatawag nilang door-to-door campaign? Kasi nasanay na ho tayong mga Pilipino na siyempre yung mga kandidato mag-handout ng mga siyempre during campaign period, voting materials, face-to-face. Ano po ba kaya magiging impact po nito pagdating po ng upon registration po nila ng filing nila ng certificate of candidacy?
I think that will be something that will have to be addressed. No, some commissioner, one of the commissioners I've read, has proposed to ban face-to-face campaign, but this was opposed by many sectors, including probably those who are not incumbent officials, because that would be to their disadvantage. So I guess they will have to come up with a rule on how campaigning would be done. Because if you ban face-to-face campaigning, it would be to the disadvantage of those who are not in the position. Because there will be name recall to those who are occupying present government position, and those new candidates for specific positions like the Senate, Congress, will have to do some online campaigning, which is, it's different when it is face-to-face campaigning when you are a new candidate, because you want to be recalled by the voters. It will really be to the disadvantage of the new candidates if face-to-face campaigning will be banned.
So if ever naman po na magkaroon ng chance naman ng if it is not prohibited, kung sakali naman matuloy na may face-to-face, it's still going to be regulated considering po yung ongoing pandemic.
That's right. They will have to come up with certain rules that would really implement the minimum health standards because of the pandemic. Napakahirap ngayon. It's really difficult for COMELEC on how to cope with the pandemic. The registration will have to be face-to-face because their biometrics will have to be taken insofar as the new voters are concerned, because they need to be photographed and their fingerprints will have to be biometrically taken. Also, when it comes to filing of certificate of candidacies, you have to go to either if you are a national candidate, you go to the main office. If you are a local candidate for elections like in Congress or House of Representatives or mayor or governor, they have to go to the provincial election supervisor or to the election officers to file the certificate of candidacy. In which case, even during elections, it will be very difficult. So I think COMELEC will have to face all these problems by coming up with certain very, very specific rules on registration, filing of certificate of candidacies, campaigning, and so forth. No?
And most importantly po, paano po boboto yung mga tao rin? Tulad ng tinanong din ni Divine kanina. Of course, syempre,
especially yung mga seniors.
Mga seniors. Ang dami pong parameters and factors din na po pwede
and it's so difficult now to consider online voting. Kasi napakahirap i-implement ang online voting dito sa Pilipinas. First, ang internet connection is not that good.
Yes.
In some places. We don't have connections in far-flung places in the provinces, in Mindanao and in Visayas. Even in Luzon. Dito lang sa Metro Manila and nearby provinces na maganda ang internet connection. So this is really an overwhelming problem for COMELEC. I really hope and pray that they will be able to come up with newly invented ways on how to vote, coping with the present pandemic.
Pero sa pagkakaalam ko ngayon, ngayon ongoing na po ang voting registration po ng mga botante.
Yes.
Or?
Yes. Yes.
In fact, parang
Every Saturday yata sila.
yes, in fact, parang in-extend
Hindi,
nga po ata siya.
It's not only Saturday. The whole week, including Saturdays. They included Saturdays.
Until yung press as per press release last press release ng COMELEC parang up until 5, tama ho ba?
Yes. Before it
sa
was
mga
up to
viewers
3
natin.
o'clock.
Oo, para alam
Ngayon,
nila.
Till 5 o'clock. Ngayon, up to 5 o'clock ang registration. Usually, it's only up to 3 o'clock. Ngayon, it's up to 5 o'clock.
Bago po tayo magpatuloy, tayo po ay magko-commercial muna.
Ayun, para po sa mga viewers natin, ngayon po para kumbaga hanggang whole week na
Yes,
hanggang alas 5.
isang buong linggo from morning until 5 p.m. po, pwede po kayo magpa-register sa COMELEC,
Including Saturdays.
including Saturday.
At syempre, nananawagan po ako dun sa mga mag-register, wag na po nating antayin yung last day.
Yes,
Habang kasi wala pa lang.
nagsaan na naman kayo ng siksikan pag ganon. Habang hindi lahat nagpipilahan, magsipilan na kayo.
Hindi, lalo na ngayon kasi pandemya
True,
pa.
oo.
Mahirap din naman na magsisiksikan kayo sa last day. Ngayon, habang maluwag po,
Ako buti yung anak ko, naparehistro ko na yung panganay ko kasi okay na siya.
Ay, mabuti naman.
Makakabot na siya.
kaya nga nananawagan din kami sa mga viewers namin na kung maaari, agahan nyo na.
Yes.
Kaysa naman yung antayin nyo pa yung last day, doon pa kayo magsisiksikan meron pa po tayong ongoing pandemic. Kaya,
Tama yan. Tama yan.
Yun lang
They should register as early as possible. No? Dahil sa pandemic, it will be difficult na siksikan kayo. No, ha? And it might cause the spread of this virus. No? So it's important that they register as early as they can to
tama ho
be
yun.
able to vote during election time and choose whoever is the candidate whom they feel would be right and will be working for the interest of our
Yes.
country.
Saka dapat sila lagi, yung lahat ng safety gears kailangan dala nila.
Syempre,
Ang face mask, face
nire-remind po
shield,
namin sa mga
Yes.
viewers namin,
alcohol.
ang mga masks po at ang face shield ay
Huwag
huwag
kakalimutan.
pong kakalimutan. At hanggang ngayon po pinagbabawal po ang
Yes.
wala pong face mask at face shield. Kaya pag pupunta po kayo para magparehistro, pakitanda na lang po, huwag niyo pong kakalimutan. Anyway, Attorney Tuazon, ngayon po may mga balita rin po sa major news networks din na as regards naman po sa issue nung mga nagpaparegister tapos biglang nalalaman na lang nila na it's either natatransfer po sila sa ibang barangay, yung name nila, or nawawala po yung listahan po nila. Ano po ba yung usual cause po kung meron man, or ano po ba yung po pwedeng gawin ng mga voters para po makaboto po sila sa darating po na election?
Ang importante nga, the important thing is that they register, no? Because without registration, you cannot vote. Hindi naman importante na mabigyan ka ng voter's ID. Others before have had the impression that kung wala kang voter's ID, you cannot vote. The important thing is you are able to register at nakuha your biometrics were taken, like your photo, face photo, and fingerprint. No, that's the important thing. Now you're asking about names in the voters list. Usually, nangyayari yan because nagkakaroon ng transfer of precincts, which is made by the election officers to complete somehow yung number of voters in a certain precinct. Pero ang problema nga noon, sometimes names of voters are transferred to another precinct, and then they are notified, pero this notice do not reach them, or they are not able to read the notices. No? So nagkakaroon ng confusion during elections that their names are in other precincts or in other places. So dapat kasi now there is a project before during our time na dapat magkaroon ng what you call yung cleansing of voters list, at saka yung I forgot the name of the system wherein when you register or when you vote, there is a system wherein your name, you press a button in the computer of the election officer, your name will appear whether you have been registered or not, and it directs you to the specific voting precinct where you will vote. Unfortunately, we tried to have this project undertaken, but it took so much time to put up the proper budget because it cost billions of pesos, maybe 1 or 2 billion at the time, and it did not take off because of budgetary constraints. Ang importante kasi siguro, before the actual elections, the voter themselves should go to the precinct where they are supposed to vote and verify whether their names are there or not, or go to the election officer of their municipality or city to determine where is the precinct that they are going to vote. So yan na lang siguro, because we did not have that project completed.
Thank you po, Attorney Tuazon. Ngayon po, ito, madas po kasi yung tinatanong po ng ibang mga, lalo po yung mga tumatakbo po. Ngayon, kapag register po nila, pag-file po na ng Certificate of Candidacy, ano po ba yung bawal? At usually lang bawal po bang gawin ng mga kandidato during that period po? Bago po mag-campaign period ho?
Yan, medyo it's a gray area, no? Because it is not yet campaign period. It is not yet certain when the specific election periods will happen, because the ANBAC has not yet promulgated the calendar of activities before the elections. The campaigning, as they say, would not violate anything. No? Yun ang problema. Yung premature campaigning. it should be, to my mind, regulated because it is advantageous to those who have a lot of resources if they campaign at any time before the campaign period designated by COMELEC. But, this is very difficult to implement, no? As of now, there are no rules before the campaign period. And anything happens before that can happen before the campaign period. During the campaign period, that is the time that you're supposedly a candidate should campaign, no? But before that, they should not do any campaigning. Pero there is no specific rule on that, no? So, so many candidates who have the resources do the campaigning even now, even without filing the certificate of candidacy. Banners are being brought out, and COMELEC does not have any power to regulate this.
Ay, Attorney Pablo.
Attorney, can you move left?
Ay, para makita po kayo ng mga viewers namin.
Yes,
At,
kasi medyo
natin
hindi po kayo nakikita.
Ayan po.
Yan, thank you.
Para makita po yung
Yes.
magandang lalaki po tayo.
Oo. Sayang naman ang kagwapuan yung attorney. Hindi nila masyado masisilayan.
Yan ang aming debonair classmate. Yan yung si Attorney.
Bumanat na naman si attorney. Oh.
Siyempre
Susundan ako kay Attorney Antonio.
lahat naman ho tayo bata.
Malayo ako kay Attorney Antonio.
Yes, age is just a number. Kaya just always smile. Yan.
Let me ask the good commissioner, Commissioner Boy. Let me talk about this party list system, no? Kasi this has been a major concern about among our officials and even a good number of our society, members of our society. What is your take on this party list system? Has it really served the purpose for which it was intended? Kasi ang daming mga if you cannot win, kasi this has been the popular observation among many, na if you cannot win in a regular congressional seat election, all you have to do is just to run under a party list system, there is an ugly talk that this can already be bought. Well, of course, that is just a perception which has to be validated yet, but that is the popular perception. So, Boy, has this party list system been effective, or has it really served the purpose for which it was intended?
The party list system is supposedly a provision of the Constitution, which it is, based on I think it's the British system, wherein several party lists are allowed to be accredited by COMELEC so that those underrepresented and sector of the society will be ably represented in the legislative body like Congress. They are supposed to be voted at large, no? But there is a formula wherein candidates or nominees of party list organizations can be elected. Now, your question is that, is it really doing its part, which was intended by our Constitution? We have tackled this ever since. The problem is that in the process of accreditation by the COMELEC, the party list supposedly should have been organized and accredited by COMELEC because they are underrepresented in Congress. And this is not happening. First, the nominees of the party list organizations do not really represent the sector which they have they're supposed to represent. Like the farmers, of course, I think the late Jeremiah Montemayor was really the right representative of the farmers, although he is not really a farmer. But the others, like there are party list organizations representing the security guards. There are party list organizations representing the taxi drivers, representing the fisher folk. But you know, the nominees in these party list organizations are either proteges of incumbent governors, incumbent mayors, incumbent congressmen, also some senators are running in this party list system just so to accommodate the particular interest of a political family. It has been happening and has been exploited in our system. During our time, we have recommended to amend the Constitution so that there will be no more party list organization system in our country, because it has been exploited by incumbent politicians who put up their own party list organizations or party list organizations so that they can accommodate their relatives, sons, wives, so that they can also be members of Congress, or and then a defeated candidate, for instance, or a candidate who has been term barred can also run under the party list system. So there was a move during our time to dispense with this party list organization system because it has been really exploited by political families. And there was also a recommendation on our part to make for the Constitution to provide a strong two-party system. As of now, we have a multi-party system, but that is another aspect. No? But as I see it now, and even during our time, the party list system, the party list organization system has been exploited. And most of them are have nominees who are relatives of incumbent politicians, sons, wives, who are now members of Congress. So it really defeated the very purpose for which it was created, because it was created to make certain sectors of our society who are underrepresented to be represented in Congress.
Bago po tayo magpatuloy, tayo po ay magko-commercial muna.
So having said that, Commissioner Boy, having said that, uh, do you know if this move that has been initiated during your time has gained traction in Congress, so that there will be a more serious and more earnest effort to do away with this party list system? Because, to the observation of many, as you have said, it has been grossly exploited by political parties, and if you cannot, if you think that you cannot win in a regular congressional seat, then the easiest mode by which you can gain access to Congress is uh, run under a party list system. So, do you think this has already gained traction in the Congress?
During our time when there was a proposal to do away or to abolish the party list system, it was considered by some members of Congress, but it has lost momentum when we left COMELEC already, because nobody really gave it a push to members of Congress. Now it has, there are clamors to really abolish the system, but it has not been really been considered by members of Congress, because it will entail amendment to the Constitution, which is a very tedious constitutional process, as we know. No? What they are now concentrating on is to revise or to amend the economic provisions of the Constitution. Nothing at this point in time has been mentioned about further studying the abolition of this party list system, or to have a strong two-party system in the Constitution. It's more on the economic provisions as of this time.
Yeah. By the way, Commissioner Boy, no, is being a nominee of a party list organization considered as already a candidate for a political position for purposes of determining whether you can be appointed after 1 year, or there is a prohibition to be appointed within 1 year after the election, whether if you lost. Is an appointee to a party list system considered already as a candidate for that purpose?
There are two schools of thoughts on that. The first one is that once you are a nominee of a party list organization, you are already considered a candidate. But the prevailing school of thought, I think, is that they are not yet candidates, because nominees can be changed
Yes.
at any time. So it is only the party list organization which is accredited, not the nominees. No, so they are not at this time, I think. No, unless there is a new principle which was adopted by the Commission on Elections, you are not a candidate, because the party list organization is the one which is accredited and not the nominees. And the nominees can be changed at any time if need be.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Boy. Divine,
Yes.
JJ,
Ay,
you have a question?
attorney, follow up lang po kay Attorney Tuazon. Paano po ba yung mga OFW natin? Makakaboto po ba sila? At paano po?
If the OFW is in the Philippines, he has to be registered here in the Philippines to be able to vote. No, but the system which we have now, wherein I piloted the Overseas Absentee Voting Act in 2003, and we also promulgated the IRR, or the Implementing Rules and Regulations for OFW. You have to be registered in the country where you are staying to be able to vote. and you register with the nearest consulate or embassy in the country where you are, and then after registration, 30 days before the actual elections in the Philippines, you can vote in the consulate or the embassies where you are registered. Unfortunately, there are places abroad, like for instance in the United States. If you are in Chicago, I think we do not have a consulate. I'm sorry, maybe Chicago, you do not have a consulate or an embassy, so you have to go to Washington
Yeah.
to vote, to register and vote, which is very expensive on the part of the
Yes.
OFW. This is still the present system. That is why we proposed the internet voting during my time, which we pilot tested in Singapore. It was a very successful pilot testing, and this is now still being considered. One of the legislators now is really pushing for internet voting for OFW who are based abroad. They can register through internet and then vote through internet wherever they are. But this has not been implemented yet. But there are moves to implement it now. But as of this very moment, the only way to for the OFW to vote is to register with the nearest consulate or embassies in the country or place where they are based. And then if they are registered, then they have to vote 30 days before the actual elections, which happens in the Philippines.
Thank you, attorney.
Yung
Follow up ka.
Wala na siguro.
Ako meron pa last. Hindi ko kasi mabanggit yung nakalimutan ko yung ano eh. Pero kasi ang may tanong po ako, like yung mga matatakbo po sa election, halimbawa po, yung parang nanggugulo lang po, katulad nung magkakaapelido, parang ganun po. Tapos, parang syempre, yung iba pong mga bumuboto, nalilito rin po kasi yung mag-apelido nila is same. Meron na po bang rule na bago po doon sa mga ganun po? Para hindi po, para
to my
hindi po
knowledge, kasi when a candidate or anyone files a certificate of candidacy, it is ministerial on the part of COMELEC to accept the certificate of candidacy. Now, if there is a ground for disqualification or cancellation of the certificate of candidacy, the oppositor should file a petition to cancel certificate of candidacy. Katulad ng sinasabi ninyo na halimbawa ang apelido is Lopez nung kandidato, Jose Lopez, may pinatakbong Mel Lopez. So may confusion. You have to file a cancellation of certificate of candidacy so that this particular candidate who should be considered a nuisance candidate should be removed from the list of candidates. If he is already a candidate and part of the list of official candidates, the oppositor should file a petition for disqualification of this particular candidate as a nuisance candidate. Yun po ang present rule. Wala pang rule na COMELEC instantly will determine that you are disqualified or to be filing a certificate of candidate. Ministerial po sa COMELEC ang pag-accept ng certificate of candidacy. It is only after when the certificate of candidacy is filed that you can file the proper petition for cancellation of certificate of candidacy, or if he is already in the list of candidates, to file a petition for disqualification.
Thank you po, Attorney Tuazon. Attorney Antonio.
You can ask any question outside of COMELEC concerns Divine and Attorney J, because you have to remember that Attorney Tuazon was also a regional trial court judge in Makati. So we are not confined only to COMELEC issues or concerns. So you can ask any question regarding problems that you might have encountered in our day-to-day living.
Actually, meron pala. Nabalitaan naman ho ata ng lahat na yung kahapon.
Yeah.
Yun, Commissioner, baka pwede po kayo mapagbigay ng opinion po dun sa mga nangyaring barilan po kahapon sa Commonwealth between, well, it seems na it's between the PIDEA and PNP. Ano ba yung opinion nyo dun sa nangyari?
What I know, my knowledge is limited to what I read and see in the papers, and also sa social media. Sabi nila it's a misencounter because the PIDEA people were in a buy-bust operation, but they were foiled by PNP operatives, and there was a misencounter. This is a problem of there is no proper communication between PNP and the other government agency, which is PIDEA. Kaya nagkakaroon ng misencounter. Mostly the problem is when an operation is done by another government agency like PIDEA, the rule is that they should first seek permission or at least notify the PNP of the locality where they are going to conduct the operation. In this particular instance, I think this is just speculation. There was no communication on the part of the government, the other government agency, to the PNP, which has overall supervision in the Southern District yata to, Southern Police District, which is Quezon City. So it's more on communication between agencies of the government.
Para dun po sa mga, para po sa mga viewers natin, para mas maintindihan po ba nila. Sino pa ba dapat ang unang mag-report or hihingi ng permiso? So si PNP mo may pre-operational report po yun. Tama po, no? Tapos paano ba nila i-coordinate?
Normally, ang dapat makipag-coordinate ay yung government agency na papasok who will do the operation in a particular district where PNP has overall supervision, because that is their jurisdiction. Kailangan, bago ka pumasok, to my mind, you have to communicate with them and ask them, tell them that you have an ongoing operation. Kaya lang, there is an ongoing mistrust between these agencies, as I see it. PIDEA probably was thinking that PIDEA people was thinking that they should not, divulge it to any other agency because there might be forewarning that will spoil their operation. The problem is probably mistrust between these government agencies. Pero ang dapat makipag-coordinate would have been the government agency who will enter the jurisdiction of the PNP.
Actually, ngayon nga, it's all over Facebook, yung mga videos, pictures.
Kalat talaga ngayon.
At ang pinaka sobrang yung medyo nakakakuha ng pansin talaga, ay yung may mga nakadapang tao na nakapideya ang uniform. Pero of course, sa mga viewers namin, at this point, speculations lang lahat yan. Mahirap din na, although we're only expressing our opinion.
I'm not saying that this was what actually happened because I am not personally privy to what really happened.
I mean, nag-express lang po kami ng opinion
Kasi yun
dito.
lang yung side na napanood
Oo.
natin.
Pero syempre tayo, usigin mo rin natin.
Yes.
At ngayon kasi, syempre, speculation lang. Mahirap din naman na padalos-dalos. Pero syempre, we're hoping na sana masolusyonan, magkaroon ng action dito sa nangyaring to. Kasi 15 minutes of gunfire, hindi lang sila po pwedeng madamay, pati yung mga bystanders, mga civilians.
Yan, totoo yan.
Kaya syempre sana yung if ever man nga yung nabanggit nga ni Commissioner na may mistrust, sana ma-settle nila kasi ang kawawa ho rito yung mga
Yung mga nandun talaga.
Innocent civilians.
yung mga innocent. At kaya lang meron din naman doon mga pasaway rin na
Mga ususero.
kasi may mga videos din doon nakikita ko na malapit sila sa putukan. Syempre yung iba, mas maigi ho sana na lumayo na lang ho kayo. Although, wala na rin itong magagawa. Nandito na tayo sa age na puro pwede natin may video lahat
Parang hindi
pangyayari.
na bago kasi sa mga Pilipino yung mga ganun eh. Di ba pag may mga eksena talagang labas tayo, may ano doon.
Hindi, pero syempre mag-ingat ho rin
Pero
tayo.
nakakatakot kasi may baril. Ako may phobia ako sa baril. Ayaw ko talaga ng baril eh.
Kahit sino pwede tamaan din ng baril.
Nakakatakot.
Lalo na doon sa 15 minutes,
Yes.
pwede, marami rin pwede madamay doon.
Bago po tayo magpatuloy, tayo po ay magko-commercial muna.
Anyways,
I have a question, Commissioner Boy. In a decision, for instance, of the COMELEC, aside from ruling on the main issue, there is a ruling, there is a judgment that says that the legal department of COMELEC is directed to conduct an investigation to determine whether there is a criminal culpability of the respondent in that particular case, even if it was dismissed already. The main case was dismissed, but there was that direction coming from the COMELEC ordering the legal department to conduct an investigation whether there is really a ground to file a criminal case pursuant to because of the criminal aspect of the offense committed. Now, what is the normal course of events here, Commissioner Boy? Is the COMELEC, after coming up with its own findings, will it file it motu proprio, or it will have to course it yet to the provincial or city prosecutor, as the case may be, to file the appropriate criminal offense if it warrants so.
COMELEC can only prosecute criminal liability if it is in violation of the election law. But insofar as offenses covered by the revised penal code, the COMELEC Law Department usually makes their own investigation, comes out with a report, and submit this for filing to the proper prosecutors concerned. No? Like for instance, if it happened in Quezon City, you file it with the City Prosecutor's Office of Quezon City, because we do not have any jurisdiction to prosecute offenses which are covered by the revised penal code. Only when it is a violation of election laws, which is provided in our election code, wherein a penalty is provided in the election code. But most of the time, it is referred to the proper prosecutor's office.
Yeah, because there are instances, I think, Commissioner Boy, that a certain offense, which might be considered as a purely election offense, but it is one among those included as an offense under the revised penal code. So, my question here is the legal department authorized to make the or to endorse this its findings to the concerned prosecutorial office, whether the city or the or the provincial, as the case may be, or can it motu proprio file it upon its own behest?
When you say file it at its own behest, they just file it, or they conduct themselves conduct the investigation,
Yes.
or they conduct an investigation to come up with a report to be submitted to the city prosecutor's office. I think the latter is the process. They conduct their own investigation, they come up with a report, they submit it to the commission and bank. It is normally approved by the commission for filing with the city prosecutor or provincial prosecutor's office. If
In
it
this
is
case-
an offense covered by the revised penal code.
In this case, Commissioner Boy, who will be now the complainant here? Will it be the COMELEC or will it be
The COMELEC. The COMELEC will be
the complainant?
the private the prosecution, the prosecutor. But the one who will conduct the actual prosecution would be the city prosecutor's office. We will be representing as the people of the Philippines, no? Because this is a
So it will be the complainant will now be the COMELEC in representation.
insofar as the investigation to be conducted by the prosecutor's office. But when it is elevated to the court, it becomes people already.
Yes, people. Yeah, it will be now the people. Yeah. Okay. So, Commissioner J, Attorney J, and Gyosa, do you have other questions?
Actually, may tanong ho ang sa ating viewer dito, ang through message. Ang tanong ho niya kasi meron hong mga kumakalat na mga ngayong panahon na to, may mga posters na sinasabi to sa mga bridge, sa mga walkways. Tinatanong ho niya kung bawal ho ba ito. Hindi ko nababakin kung sinong kandidato. Pero ang kanyang tanong po ay, bawal ho ba na kung ngayong panahon po ay posibleng tatakbo sa susunod na halalan ay maglagay ng mga tarpaulin, magpamigay ng mga kalendaryo na may mukha nila.
Yung parang
Pero wala pang
nagpapakilala
sinasabing
na.
vote, di ba? Wala pang the banners or the pamphlets that are being distributed or displayed. There are no words to say.
Premature campaign na
show
tawag.
that vote for me. Wala pa yon eh. Di ba? Ang nakalagay lang pangalan,
Yes.
For the service of the people, ganyan, yung mga project nila. As of this time, wala pang ano eh.
So,
Wala pang violation.
so hindi po
Normally,
siya
wala pang violation.
mako-consider na premature campaigning ho?
There is no such thing as premature
Okay.
campaigning pag wala pang election period.
Okay.
There is no election period yet. No?
Kaya
As
mabuti ho yan.
designated by
At
COMELEC.
least nalinaw
At
ho
least
natin.
clear para-
At least naklaro ho natin sa mga nagtatanong.
Pero to me, personally, that should be regulated because it is to the advantage of would-be candidates who have resources to make a simulated or veiled campaign because they have the resources. That should be, to my mind, regulated. In other words, there should be a regulation or rule on the part of COMELEC that should regulate this because it is giving undue advantage to certain candidates. But as of now, there are no rules to make it illegal or irregular for that matter.
Yes, speaking of-
As a follow-up to that, Commissioner Boy, regarding that, when you say it has to be regulated somehow by the COMELEC, by so regulating, can any party probably make a reservation to file at the appropriate time such an offense, so that because if it is not yet seasonable for him or her to be filing a case because it is not yet campaign season, of course it would be premature. It will just be dismissed because there is no campaign period yet, and he or she may not even be considered as a candidate because he has not yet filed his or her certificate of candidacy. Can he or she make a reservation as what we normally do in court to file the appropriate criminal or election offense at the proper time? Because an offense has been committed already, cannot that be reserved so that it will be utilized as a cause of action during the time that there will be already a final reckoning of the case?
Unfortunately, Attorney Tito, we know for a fact that criminal laws cannot have a retroactive effect.
Yeah.
It can only be prospective. In other words, you cannot reserve if there is no law penalizing a particular act, there is no offense committed. And if a law is subsequently passed, then it can cover only prospectively.
Yeah, that is a bill of attainder, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Attorney, may tanong din ako. Ang barangay elections po, kailan po kaya yun?
Nako, wala pang nakaset pinopostpone. They have continuously postponed the elections for barangay officials, and I don't think that it will coincide with the May 2022 elections because that would be very, very tedious on the part of COMELEC.
Yes.
It is up for the executive department to suggest to COMELEC as to when the barangay elections will be held. As of now, there is no fixed date for barangay elections yet.
Thank you, Attorney.
And speaking of regulation, yung going back dun sa yung pinagbabawal din na mga campaigning sa yan. Ay, pumunta naman tayo dun sa mga bawal naman po gawin ng mga voters. Yung mga voters na isa dito yung yung madalas na gun ban, drinking. Ano pa ho ba
Drinking ban.
Ano ho ba yung pwede natin i-remind sa mga voters natin pagdating ng halalan na dapat po wag nyong gagawin?
Before the elections, there are certain periods fixed by COMELEC. Yung liquor ban, it starts, depending on the calendar of activities of COMELEC, usually it starts a day before the election day, and a day after elections. May complete liquor ban. Yung gun ban, they fix it. It is fixed by COMELEC as to when gun ban starts. Wala pang ano yun, wala pang fixed date as of this time.
Thank you, Atty. Tuazon. Ay, meron pa tayong pwedeng itanong para sa mga viewers natin.
Bago po tayo magpatuloy, tayo po ay magko-commercial muna.
Pagdating po dun sa sa tingin nyo ba, Commissioner, yung pagdating po sa magiging voters turnout po nito? Kasi sa ngayon po, kumukuha na po tayo mga nagre-rehistro. Sa tingin nyo ba, mas marami pa ho ang magpa-participate sa pagboto? Kasi syempre ngayon ho, may pandemic. Ano ho ba yung sa tingin nyo?
I have read that registration has started a long time ago. It was extended up to October because the registration turnout is low. Mababa pa, konti pa lang ang nagpaparehistro at this time. So they extended it sa October. Hopefully, there will be an extensive campaign on the part of COMELEC and on the part also of the government to encourage new voters or voters whose names were deactivated to now register and activate their names in the voters list para mas mabuti kung yung mga new voters would be able to vote. New voters are very idealistic. Like the voters abroad, from my experience, since they are exposed to good government, to campaign or election without manipulation, without corruption, they will really vote for candidates who believe that they are fit to serve the best interest of our countrymen. Yung new voters ngayon, they are idealistic. They just came out from college or they just came out from high school kasi 18 years old, no? They're idealistic. They should be the ones to be encouraged to register and vote because this kind of voters are the idealistic one. They have in mind the best interest of our country. So all of us should encourage the new voters to really register and come out and vote come election time next year.
May follow-up question ako. Ilan year nag-vote kapag matatanggal? Ay, hindi. Mali. Kapag 3 beses po bang hindi nakaboto, matatanggal na po ba yung pangalan sa COMELEC?
Dalawang national elections. If you are unable to vote in 2 national elections,
Okay.
your name will be deactivated from the voters list.
Tapos, Attorney Tuazon, kapag po ba may ang isang tao ay may kaso, hindi na po ba siya pwede tumakbo?
Not necessarily. Ang provision po ng ang interpretation ng Supreme Court, if you have a case which would supposedly disqualify you to be a candidate, it should be a final decision by the courts, no? So in other words, it should be a decision affirmed by the Supreme Court. Kung it is on appeal, like for instance, you're convicted in the municipal or city trial court, and it is appealed either to the RTC or to the Court of Appeals, you are not yet disqualified. The interpretation is it should be a final decision. Thus, candidates with pending cases, unless there is a specific provision that they are now disqualified to run public office, at that very instant, they can still be candidates. Kasi ang interpretation ng Supreme Court is final decision. But my personal opinion, if you are convicted of an offense which disqualifies you to be a candidate in the regional trial court level, I think you should be disqualified. But that is not the law. That is not the rule. The law is that it has to be a final decision by the Supreme Court. Well, final decision. When you say final decision, there is nothing left to do. No, there is no appeal anymore. A decision of the regional trial court can be a final decision if it is not appealed. But normally, if it is appealed to the Court of Appeals and then to the Supreme Court, then you'll have to wait for the final decision of the Supreme Court.
Yan. Attorney Tuazon, kapag po ba ang isang barangay chairman sa QC dahil nakalagay sa corrupt ng opisyal, nakasuspend po ngayon sa posisyon, until filing ng COCs, pwede pa po ba silang tumakbo?
Suspended kanyo?
Yes po.
Suspended as barangay chairman
Po.
for instance, and then he will run again.
Yes po.
That is something which I have to recall, no? Pero that there is, in all probabilities, he appealed this decision of the normally it's the municipal trial court, di ba? Or city
Nasa
trial
corrupt
court.
list po ni President.
Hindi pa. That is not a ground for disqualification. Ang disqualification would be a decision or a final decision of the court. If he is suspended by the ombudsman, for instance, no? Hindi ombudsman, they do not fall within that category. They are suspended by COMELEC probably, no? They can still run. That is my thinking. No?
Ayan. At meron pa ako isang pahabol.
Marami yata nag-message para magtanong.
Yes. Meron po ang pambababae ba ay grounds para matanggal sa isang posisyon ng isang opisyal?
Oo, immorality eh. When you say an official, elected or appointed?
Elected.
Elected official, kung appointed official under the Civil Service Act, you can be removed from office if it is a ground, if it is immorality. No? You can be removed from office. Elective official, you have to file for removal. I am thinking if it is a ground to remove an elective official, we'll have to go to the jurisprudence. I am not sure right now if it is a ground to remove an elected official. But it is a ground to file criminal cases against the elected official. If it is concubinage or adultery or rape, for instance, no, and convicted of those offenses, then it can be a ground for removal of the elected official. Pero kung nasa immorality because of he is reputed or hindi reputed, he is known to be immoral palang, I think that is not a ground to remove him. There has to be a conviction of a particular offense to have him removed.
Ano po
Corruption,
ba?
for instance, corruption naman, for instance, you file it with the ombudsman and the ombudsman can suspend the elected official.
Bago po tayo magpatuloy, tayo po ay magko-commercial muna. Attorney Tuazon, ano po ba ang qualification para tumakbo ng presidency? Ang tanong ay galing kay Oman.
Napaka-basic kasi ng ng qualification to run for public official, even for the position of president. You must be a natural-born citizen. You must know how to read and write. You must be at least 45 years old. No educational attainment is required. So yun lang ang basic requirement.
Kaya pala yung...
During the filing of certificate of candidacy, which I personally witnessed during our time, merong dumarating doon na sugo ng Diyos.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Nagpa-file na pinadala daw ng Amerika na siya ang dapat maging presidente ng Pilipinas because the qualification is very basic. Even yung payment of income tax is not required. Very basic, natural-born Filipino. I'm talking of presidency. Natural-born Filipino, at least 45 years old, able to read and write. Yun lang ang qualification under the Constitution.
Attorney J.
Ngayon kasi napapansin ko kasi pinagtitingnan ko yung dahil naalala ko yung binanggit nga ni Commissioner na yung mababa yung turnout ng mga nagre-rehistro. Eh ngayon, nakikita ko ngayon doon sa page ng COMELEC, talagang pati yung social media there, really trying to utilize it.
Yes.
Ginagamit na kasi nakikita ko may TikTok na videos dito na iniengganyo yung mga botante para magrehistro na. And in fact, sa programa rin naman to, gusto rin naman hikayatin din na pagdating ng election, sana ngayon pala mag-rehistro na kayo para makaboto tayo ng mga tao talang karapat-dapat sa gobyerno. Ito nakikita ko, sobrang kalat na pati yung mga TikTok videos talagang ginagamit na pati naman sa gobyerno para lang makahikayat.
Yeah, that's right. There has to be a campaign really for registration, lalo na yung new voters.
Yes.
Now, anyway, the registration will be up to October, and it is only February going to March. They should register early. That should be the campaign. Register early to avoid the rush, and so that everyone who is qualified to vote should now register and be able to vote in the coming presidential elections.
Kaya nananawagan nga ulit kami sa mga viewers natin. At tulad nga ng sinabi ni Commissioner, lalo din sa mga bata, yung mga kaka-18 lang, ito na sigurong panahon para pag-rehistro at bumoto kayo ng mga para sa halalan sa 2022. May question ho ata tayo sa isang viewer. Current position yun ni Attorney Tuazon po ngayon?
Yes.
Ni Ian Dainla?
Dainla. Ano daw po ba ang current position nyo ngayon, Attorney Tuazon? Tanong ng ating viewers.
Ano raw po yung trabaho nyo ngayon?
Wala na ako sa public service. I'm not occupying any government position. I am now a partner in a law firm based in Makati. Yeah.
Saan po kayo sa Makati, sir?
Attorney Antonio, who is a very successful practitioner on his own, may sarili pang radio program. Kami struggling lawyers in Makati, you know.
Ikaw naman, boy. Ikaw naman. Alam nyo, mga giliw naming mga taga-subaybay, si Atty. Tuazon, as I have introduced him a while ago, he ranks among the more illustrious members of our class. Imagine that, having been an RTC judge and a COMELEC commissioner, these are no mean feat for an ordinary mortal. So, I doff off my hat to you, boy. You are really, you have arrived, my classmate.
Attorney Tito, you are really a classmate. You know that is I am far from being illustrious, but thank you anyway.
may tatanong nga pala ako, boy. Sino na nga ba itong ating yung co-alumnus natin sa UP College of Law na who has proclaimed himself as president? Ahead sa atin yan. Oh.
Si Eli Pamatong.
Si Eli.
Pamatong, yeah.
Si Eli.
You know that during the presidential election of I'm not sure about the date, 2004 or 2005 presidential election, he filed a certificate of candidacy for president. Alongside GMA Fernando po, yun, kakalaban. He went to my office. Sabi niya, Commissioner Boy, for all time's sake, palusutin mo naman yung certificate of candidacy ko. Because there was an oppositor, no? There was a petition to cancel the certificate.
By the way, boy, Sigma Rowan ba yan?
Hindi. Very, very close to us lang. Very close
very close to us.
Very close to the Sigma Rowans. And then sabi ko sa kanya, are you in a position to conduct? Sabi ko sa kanya. Alam mo, sagot niya sa akin, boy, I have regional headquarters, armed people all over the country. Sabi ko sa kanya, don't say that officially. You will be disqualified because that is a violent way of campaigning. But he was so serious. Sayang, ano? I mean, there's something a little off. Kaya lang, he's sayang. He's really determined. And you know, his qualification, sabi niya sa akin, I am a UP law graduate. I am a lawyer from UP. You know? Yeah. Very, he's a character. You know?
Yeah, kasi he has proclaimed himself. In fact nga, nakita ko sa isang post, nakaupo siya sa ano, and meron na nakalagay sa likod niya, sa gisag ng Pangulo ng Pilipinas. Yeah. It's not considered as a criminal offense yung you are pretending to be the highest elective official of a country, and when you are not elected to as such.
There might be like usurpation, di ba? Parang usurpation of public office, something like that, no?
Yeah. But
nobody's listening naman, so they just let it go, no?
and that's what amuses me, boy. Nobody has the gall so far to file a case against Eli.
Yeah, because he doesn't do any harm anyway.
But he can take anyone in an open debate. He can take anyone.
You know, once yun ang ano namin sa kanya, once he gets into a platform, he never refuses to talk, and he will not stop talking.
Yeah. Kasi I recall I was with the guy with our classmate, si Atty. Abetco, between the sheets of Makati when Jojo Binay was holed up in his office in Makati, and one among those who demonstrated his full support was Eli. He was there. He was there all of the time. Yeah, and out of curiosity, we also went there well, in open and close parentheses, quotation, to support Jojo Binay, because I think at that time he was fighting a cause which I think at that time was just, because he was being ousted for without having been given the benefit of a preliminary investigation, or it was just an accusation, and he was already
he was suspended by the ombudsman, di ba?
Yes.
And he refused to leave his office.
Yes, and he was holed up in his office, and Eli Pamatong was there, and he had his army.
Oh yeah.
They had his army, yes, and they were all in uniform.
Yeah.
And it was very scary, because at any time, because he was already being threatened then for criminal prosecution for having an army. Well, of course, unarmed naman sila, but they were uniformed.
Yeah.
They were uniformed in the
there might be an offense there, huh? Yung wearing uniform of an army. A military,
army, yes.
When you are not authorized to do so.
And there were scores of them and that probably emboldened Jojo Binay at the time, because he had an army. Yeah.
It would have been very good for Eli Pamatong if Jojo Binay became president of the Philippines.
Oh well,
I don't think he would not have been forgotten.
Yeah, and Eli Pamatong, for whatever his entertainment worth is.
Yes.
He is really a character to reckon with, because
at saka Tito, he is a friend. He's a friend.
Yeah, he's a friend. Yes,
you ask him for support or any assistance, he will always be there.
Correct.
I'm sure
correct.
of that.
Yes, Eli Pamatong is really a good friend. He is and he can take as much as he can dish out.
Yes, that's true. And he will not back out from any debate.
Oh yes, he can take anyone in the
any
public
subject
debate.
matter. Yeah.
Yeah, he can take anyone in the public debate, and
Yes.
that's
Yeah. Yeah, remembering Eli Pamatong.
Yeah, because this has something to do with an election offense, because
Yeah.
he was already proclaiming himself to have been elected as president of the Republic of the Philippines, and he's been giving out orders.
It's a good thing that nobody takes notice
Him
of this.
seriously. Yeah, because
Seriously.
I'm wondering why no one has just come out to file a case, even only a test case against him,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
he has arrogated unto himself already the position of the
Yes.
president of the Philippines. And
And
his,
I think there's an offense committed there, Tito.
yeah, but maybe everyone is as equally amused as we are.
Abuse. It's more of an entertainment
Yes,
matter
because of
than
its
anything serious that would threaten the security of the state.
Attorney,
Yeah.
may question ako.
Yes, ma'am.
Ang online broadcasting po ba gaya nitong ginagawa namin sa FB or YouTube for campaign materials like ads, may restriction po ba kagaya ng TV?
Yes, there is a restriction when the time comes and there is a campaign period. Merong period that is given to a particular. You're covered by what Facebook to social media, di ba?
Yes.
There might be a regulation on this, in this particular election, because they're contemplating on regulating social media. But as of this time, wala pa. They haven't come out or come up with anything to regulate social media such as this.
Bago po tayo magpatuloy, tayo po ay magko-commercial muna.
Anyways,
May follow-up ka pa?
wala na.
Ikaw, attorney.
Meron pa ba tayong nakalimutan? O... In any case, since wala na tayong wala na rin nagtatanong din na patungkol sa COMELEC. Commissioner, ano po ba yung payo niyo po or last words po para sa ating mga viewers?
Yes, the important thing now is to encourage the new voters to register. They have until October, but they should avoid the rush by registering at the last moment. They should register as early as now, because as I've said, they are the idealistic new voters that will have a say in the government. As I've said, also being idealistic, they will vote for the candidates whom they feel would be doing a job well for the interest of the country. So let us encourage the new voters to register and vote come May 2022.
Thank you po, Commissioner Tuazon. Yun nga po, ulitin ko lang ho sa mga panawagan uli sa ating mga botante, magparehistro. At syempre, inudyok po natin ating mga kabataan para
Magpa-register
na. At ito na ang panahon para mag-take part kayo sa
Tsaka mas magandang naka-register ka na habang bata ka pa. Kasi magkakaproblema ka pa pag medyo nagkaedad ka na matatama rin ka ng pumila kasi masakit na yung tuhod mo. Kaya dapat habang bata, pumipila na agad. Yan. Diba?
Well, so at least at this point, we would like to extend our profuse thanks to Attorney Florentino A. Tuazon Jr. Incidentally, Attorney Tuazon also has his roots in Ilocos Norte, in Batak. His middle name is Aglipay, so he is a descendant of the famous Independent Church Archbishop Gregorio Aglipay.
Yeah.
So he has heroic roots in his genes, and that speaks well of his luster as a lawyer. He's a well-rounded lawyer, ladies and gentlemen, Jay and Divine. And masyado akong nagpapasalamat dito kay Commissioner Boy dahil pinaunlakan tayo na maging guest natin sa programang ito ngayong araw. And we cannot thank you enough, Boy, for having obliged to my request because, as I have said, and I will repeat over and over again, that you are one of our bigger mortals in our class.
Tito, thank you so much. It's an honor and a pleasure to be a guest in your program.
Thank you po,
You
Commissioner.
are more illustrious than any one of us, Tito. You have achieved so much. So my hat's off to you. Thank you so much for having me. My honor and my privilege again.
Well, yeah, we hope.
Hopefully, may invite po namin kayo ulit, Attorney Tuazon.
Yes, we hope to have you again in one of our programs again. We have had already some of our classmates, Vic Dimagiba, the revered Senator Dick Gordon.
Dick Gordon.
Our president, si Ed Squeta.
Beta.
Yeah, and of course, our very good friend, Ronnie Reyes, who has been very kind to be with us every time. So, and we hope to have you again, Boy, in our future programs.
Anytime.
Yes.
Basta ikaw.
And
Anytime.
yes, and thank you so much for your time. I know that you are very busy being a senior partner in one of the big law offices in Makati, but somehow, because of our deep camaraderie and fraternization in our class in the UP College of Law, he did not mince his words in saying yes to my invitation to him. Thank you so much, Boy, and good day, my classmate, my boy.
Thank you very
Attorney
much.
Commissioner.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Yes.
It's been an honor. Thank you.
Yes, Attorney.
At syempre, salamat din sa ngayon. At makikita nyo na ho ngayon kada Biyernes at 3 to 5.
3 to 5 p.m.
Sa mga viewers po namin, salamat po sa pagtangkilik at mag-message po kayo sa hashtag TV, tama ba? Na hashtag TV para dun sa next topic na mag-suggest po kayo ng mga topic ko na
Yes. At sa Gabay Batas nating page, pwede po kayo mag-suggest ng mga topic na gusto nyong aming i-discuss. para sa susunod na Biyernes o kung ano man kung meron po kayong mga gustong pag-usapan para kayo ay magkaroon ng mga kaalaman about dito, mag-message lang po kayo doon sa ating mga page like #TBN ang Gabay Batas.
Ayun pa.
Attorney?
Yeah, alam niyo po mga giliw namin mga taga-subaybay, ito pong programa namin ay para sa inyo po. Kasi itong Gabay Batas ay talagang sinadya namin itong ipahimpapawid para makatulong kahit papano sa inyo. At kaya ina-encourage namin kayo na every time na mayroon tayong programa na i-message nyo lang kami kung ano yung mga concerns nyo sa ating buhay-buhay at sigasikapin namin po na matugunan lahat itong inyong mga programa. So until next Friday again, we are now bidding goodbye in the meantime, and
Yes.
we hope that you will always be with us in our Friday program. Divine?
Yes. Jay, maraming salamat at sinamahan mo kami dito ngayon at sa susunod na linggo makakasama ka ulit namin.
At salamat din sa
Yes.
pag-welcome sa akin.
Naman, syempre. Mas masaya yan, mas marami tayo, di ba? Di ba, Attorney?
Yes, and and last not but least, my thanks also to Attorney Jay, because when I first broached this idea of being a co-host, hindi siya nag-atubili na pumayag. Kaya masyado rin na tayong nagpapasalamat sa kanya dahil may makakasama tayo at least. At saka hindi lang naman siya yung abogado lang na na bagong salta eh. He might look young, but he is already a seasoned lawyer. Notwithstanding the number of years that he has been in practice, he's already a veteran litigator.
Thank you.
Ayan. Galing-galing.
And I'm honored.
Ito ni Attorney
I'm honored to be
Macaraeg.
here. Ayun nga, as my parting words sa mga tangkilik ng programa, salamat sa patuloy na pagtangkilik at yun nga, tulad nga sabi ni Atty. Antonio, pipilitin namin na masagot ang lahat ng yung mga katanungan patungkol sa mga batas at kung ano pa man, basta nandito lang ako kami para magbigay ng tulong sa inyo. Divine?
Yes. Yan, Attorney, before we go, baka meron ka munang gustong batiin. Batiin mo yung ating mga regular viewers. Ako meron akong babatiin.
Yeah, gusto kong batiin yung aking mga regular na sumusubaybay sa atin, mga kababayan namin sa Ilocos, yung mga kaibigan ni Attorney Jay, yung mga kainuman niya sa San Nicolas.
Si
amin na po.
si Mang Samson, si Mang Ruben.
Oo,
Layo naman ang inuman nyo nasa San Nicolas.
yes. Kumusta kayo lahat, mga kapuks? Mga kaibigan natin diyan na mga minamahal naming mga kaututang dila.
Ayan.
Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Till next program again. Di ba?
Ako din, Attorney. Hi to ating regular viewer. Hi, Christian from Pasig. Watching from Pasig. And hi din kay Romas Visperas watching from DCMCI, Dacan Corporation, DMCI Company. And hello din po kay ating regular viewers na si Cookie Tagle. Hi! Sana makanood ka palagi sa amin. At shout out nga pala kay Madel Petisa. At shout out rin sa kanyang mga ka-work na mga coordinators ng Barangay Rizal sa Makati. At binabati ko rin po ang mga Barangay Rizal Council ng Makati City. Hello po, magandang hapon sa inyo lahat. Thank you for always watching po sa aming programa. And especially, hi to my daddy. Hi Kagawad Biason. Thank you for supporting me as always. Love ya. Ayan.
At ako naman, binabati ko naman ng aking asawa si Pia, si Mami Pia. At sa aming anak, si Sian. Hello. At shoutout din sa mga Well, sa mga magulang ko sa US. Hello, ma, pa. Kay Shirley at kay Jong. At pati sa mga kapatid ko, si Ersan, si Kuya Ersan at si Tara. Pati ang asawa na Kuya, si Pau. Hi, Pau. At yung mga pamangkin ko, si Ethan at si Amara. Pati na rin si asawa ni Tara. Rodney, pati ang anak nilang si Tiffany. Hello. At sa lahat po ng viewers natin, salamat po sa pagtangkilik. At manood po uli kayo sa next Friday, 3 to 5. Dito
Yes.
sa Gabay Batas.
At nakikita ko kay Jay, babatiin ko rin ang mommy ko. Hi, mommy. And to my sister Chelsea, watching from Chicago, Illinois. Hello. Okay. Ayan, attorney. So, are we going to say goodbye now?
Yes, goodbye for now and then
Goodbye for
till
now.
next Friday.
See you next Friday. Ito po ang Kabay!
Batas!
Gabay Batas, hosted by Attorney Juanito Antonio and Divine Gyosa.